Okay, so Eden, you know my mother, Priscilla.
Oh, baby, do I know Priscilla. We love Priscilla.
When I was a child, I was, maybe 3. Apparently,
3?
she loves to tell this story where she had her address book and some expensive coffee table. Every time she describes it, it goes up by another 1,000. But every time, like, she loved. I apparently, as a kid, drew with bright blue Sharpie all over her address book and all over the coffee table. And oh my God, was she mad.
Is this one of these stories that she just loves to tell, like, over and over and over and over again?
Yeah, you know what she does? So it's the address book is old as hell. It's from like 95, and she'll bring it out at dinner parties. That's like, because she like loves to prove it. Because she threw away the coffee table, but she still has the address book that she loves to show people. She's not getting rid of that.
Okay, so shockingly, you were the Axl and Priscilla was the Mike?
Absolutely. Maybe our recap of 106 The Front Door can help us kind of move through that.
Absolutely. This will be therapy for you, honestly.
And maybe Joey Newman, our music composer for the series who we're interviewing today, will have a little bit of insight.
So Brock, let's get to middling. Welcome to Middling, everybody, where if you don't know by now, which you should, Brock and I break down an episode of The Middle each and every week of our lives.
Being with you and Jess last Sunday or a couple Sundays ago for that live watch was so much fun. That's the way to watch The Middle.
That is the way to watch The Middle. Highlight of my month.
You know, Eden, there is so much we got to get through today. So I say let's just dive in right away to some middle minutes.
So here we are with our middle minutes. This week, we are breaking down episode 106, The Front Door. Here is the summary of this episode. Frankie is fed up with Axl's attitude towards her and Mike, so when he accidentally breaks down the front door, despite the fact that she has been nagging Mike to fix the door hinge for 3 months, she goes along with Mike to make Axl fix it. Meanwhile, Frankie must sell a car within the week. Sue stresses over her school pictures. Oh, this one. I remember this one. Sue stresses over her school pictures, and Brick must complete a school assignment that involves building a model of the Indiana State Capitol building.
This was written by Russ Woody and directed by Michael Spiller, who, oh my God, directs all your favorite comedies. He's fantastic and Emmy Award nominated, winning one of those things. Just a fabulous, fabulous director.
We have a lot of legends that directed our show, I'm realizing, as we're doing these, like, all these middle minutes. There are a lot of just these, I can't believe they chose little old us to also direct.
Juggernaut after juggernaut after juggernaut.
All right, guest cast. We got Chris Kattan as Bob, Brian Doyle Murray as Mr. Ehlert, Peter Breitmeyer as Pete, who we spoke to, Derek Waters from Drunk History?
Oh,
what?
yes.
So many people were on our show. What? I have to wait. I already rewatched it. I have to rewatch it again and be like, "That's Derek." Okay, it's Derek Waters as Owen Ehlert, the guy in the dog suit. Oh, that's funny. I don't think they said in the episode that he was related to Mr. Ehlert.
I don't think so either.
That is a funny touch. And Michael Boucher, hope I'm saying that right, as Wayne.
This aired Wednesday, November 4th, 2009 at 8:30 p.m., 7:30 Central, with 6.04 million viewers.
Going strong. We're staying steady with our 6 million.
Yes.
So we got the top movie of the week. This Is It, which I don't remember at all. This Is It. What movie is that?
Do you know what it is? It's the Michael Jackson movie.
Oh.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, right.
Oh. The poster is something like this, like, right? He's giving it one of those, I think.
Yes.
Does that jog your memory a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. It didn't, I don't know who Michael Jackson is, but, this really did it for me.
Exactly. Yep.
And the top song of the week was Fireflies by Owl City.
That song had me by the collar. I loved it. Oh, I loved it.
I wouldn't be able to hum it. Actually, I'm sure if you started, I'd know like every single word because it's one of those one-hit wonders.
You sure would. Mm-hmm.
But I can't remember it at all.
Oh, Eden, I love the way you middle those minutes. They're so good. No one does it like you. Okay, when we come back, just like Axl did to the front door, we're breaking down this episode.
So here we go. Let's get into it. episode 106, it starts out with a montage of Frankie at war with Axl trying to get him out of bed, and Frankie wants back up. Oh, I was like, Brock, there's a typo in there. Okay, here we go. We start out with a montage of Frankie at war with Axl trying to get him out of bed. And Frankie wants backup, but Mike plays nice.
I was always an early riser. I would have no problem getting out of bed for school. I still don't have a problem getting out of bed.
That is so you. No. I could sleep till noon if you let me. If I did not, when I'm away from my children, I sleep till noon in the afternoon. Like, no.
Do you not feel like your day is wasted when that happens? Because I wake up.
Of course I do.
Like,
I hate it.
And then you hate yourself for the rest of the day. But my God, did you have a good night of sleep?
It's like I always am constant. And for life. That is for life. For high school, middle school, elementary school, always. I've never been able to get out of bed. I've never been able to fall asleep. Never been able to get out of bed. This Frankie Axl dynamic at the beginning of this episode is 100% that's me. That is me. That was me in my life. Yeah.
Okay. What time did you get up for, like, today?
Well, I always get up at the same time because of my kids today. So my husband Nick lets me sleep in, and so I get up at like 8:15.
What an angel, that Nick. My God. Okay, so later that morning at work, Ehlert announces that if you don't sell a car, you have to wear the dog suit. He puts pressure on Frankie while being outwardly misogynistic. I feel like Ehlert is just threatening his employees every single episode. I'm ready for something where he's not threatening them and firing them for not selling a car.
And I think they do, if I recall. Like, I think that, like, there is some arc, some evolution.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That is the formula now. That's the formula. Yeah.
Also, do you watch trash TV? You watch trash, right?
Is this a thing, or do you mean, like, the genre of trash?
No, just, like, do you watch... Okay, let me rephrase it this way. Do you watch Selling Sunset?
Of course I do.
Okay, so when Ehlert is ringing the bell when he sells a car, I get visceral, like, that is Selling Sunset with, like, the girls and their, like, bleach blonde hair and their nails out to here being like, I sold a $20 million home. And they ring that bell in the office at the Oppenheim group. I was like, who did it first, the middle or the Oppenheim group? And guess what? It was the middle. It was Ehlert.
Brock, can I just tell you that is literally exactly what I thought of when I saw this on the episode?
I worked out next to Chriselle Strauss. I think that's how you say her last name. We were taking a little fitness hit class, and I clocked her. She was running next to me on the treadmill, and I clocked her. So I was going extra fast, and I was like working my ass off. And then at the end of it, I was like, I don't want her to leave until I like acknowledge her. So I was like, woo, great workout. And I gave her a pound like I was a dude, like a bro. And I gave her like, I gave her knuckles. And she was like, oh, good. And baby, did she dip faster than lightning. She was like, okay, I'm out. She skipped the stretch. She was in, she was out, and she got her sweat on and left in her Lululemons. Cream, if you wanted to know. Cream colored. Yeah, off-whites.
I was literally going to be like, what was her athleisure? What was she wearing? What was her sweat level? Was she in full hair and makeup?
She sure was.
Okay,
and she still looked gorgeous. Good. I mean, it wasn't like a full, like, she wasn't filming Selling Sunset, but she didn't not have mascara on.
Great. I love that. I don't even know where we were in the episode because I could just talk about this and your interactions with celebrities while working out all day. Selling Sunset. Okay, no. So now we're back in the episode. Back at home.
Yeah.
Back at home. Brick builds sugar cube. He builds a sugar cube pyramid for school, and Sue shows Frankie her school picture. And also back in the house, Mike confronts Axl when he doesn't do what he is told to. He's not so nice anymore now. And then when Axl slams the front door, it just bam, bam, falls off its hinges.
So when that scene took place, the first one the first part of it where Frankie walks in, I'm watching it as like an actor. Frankie walks in, she goes to Brick, has an interaction, then positions change. You come in, you talk about the photo, positions change, she talks to Mike. In my mind, and it felt like a little bit of a longer scene for single cam, but in my mind I was like, that probably took 7 hours to film. That is so many setups. In my mind, I was like, that's like a 3-minute scene, and I know that took half a day, if not more, to film that entire scene. That's so many setups.
It was like 10 hours.
Oh my God.
I remember it. It was, I think it was a lot of people replacing people's marks. Like, like the camera would stay the same and just someone would come in like, okay, now I'm coming in to Axl's old mark or Brick's old mark or whatever, which saves quite a bit. But now that I've been rewatching scenes like that, one, we had so many scenes like that in season 1. I guess we always had scenes like that. We got our groove better, a little bit.
Finessed it, probably got a little quicker, yeah.
But when I watch those scenes back, I'm like viscerally, I'm there again. And I'm like, oh my God, I remember just waiting, hearing over and over and over again the whole scene, and like waiting in the laundry room and then being like, oh, that's my cue. Go there and say my one line or whatever and like peace out. Like I could probably recite to you the whole scene back after just seeing it one time.
And then, of course, we have your headshots or your school photos, which I feel like became, I don't know if they were iconic in the series, but at least knowing that they were used to set decorate a lot. Like those photos were popping up everywhere. So it kind of became a little bit of a staple for you.
It absolutely. People after my show, my live show, my like solo show, one time came up to me and had it printed on the shirt, the picture, the like last picture, the like picture. Yeah. And I was like, what the hell is that? What is that? They were like, do you not remember? I was like, oh my God. Like,
you made them cry. You go, what the hell is that? Is that AI?
Get out. Get out. No VIP for you. It became super iconic, and I was like, oh, I should remember this. I think this repeated like a lot. But then I did remember eventually. I was like, oh, right. I don't remember why, but I do remember that picture. It's in my soul now.
We also hit the montage with Brick and his like million school projects where he forgets to tell Frankie. And truth, between you and me, the montages are not my favorite. They're not my favorite.
I feel like they phased them out a little bit. It was like in the season 1, it was so narration heavy and really, but like pop heavy. I think they're pops more. You know,
that is true, and some of them make me laugh, but again, I feel like they're being overused. Where I'm like, okay, can we just get to the scene? They still make me laugh.
They're trying to get out so much exposition because they're trying to be like, hey, this is our whole like. Remember, this is how their lives have always been. Let me show you examples of them.
Right. I do like because we saw last week with Mike and Brick when he's trying to force him to play basketball. I do like seeing more features on Neil and his relationship with his kids. So I love seeing that new dynamic because we haven't really seen that to its full extent between Mike and Axl, which has been a lot of fun, at least from my end. It
was nice seeing the arc also. It was nice seeing the like he doesn't just, because I'm not a big fan of in general the dynamic of like the naggy mom and then like the dad being like, I'm gonna show like yes, I'm on your side, and then going in and being like, hey man, I'm not actually on your mom's side, can you just like, I'm not a huge fan of that dynamic, like that doesn't seem super, that I don't resonate with that, but so it was really nice seeing like, okay, he's not just trying to be like, yeah, he's my best friend. It's sort of like, no, he is still the parent, and they are ultimately still on the same side.
That is nice to see. And also, one final thought that I had was when your face, it did make me laugh out loud when Frankie is like, okay, so you just got to think of something good, like, I forget what she says, rainbows, or Ashton Kutcher. One, how she says Kutcher is so funny, but then you go, like, you like stop and you just like freeze in that smile. That did make me LOL. That was very funny. At work, Frankie struggles to sell a car where she and Bob can't decide on who's a good cop or a bad cop.
Oh, yes. I saw that coming, too. I was like, I don't remember anything. So I was like, oh, I know exactly what's going to happen here. They're both going to think they are the good cop. And it worked perfectly. It worked exactly as I wanted it to. And then back at home, Sue shows Frankie her retake, and it is her retake, and it is worse than the last. Shocker. Yes, their reactions to Sue's. I love the honest reactions to Sue's pictures. I love that, just like, oh my God, what is this? Yeah. Wait, I've never even seen you make this face before. Except I think she says at the very last one. And Axl and Mike's feud continues on who should fix the door, which fuels the fight between Frankie and Mike.
And this is the reason why we're having our guest on today. But I love there's a difference in music, that Western kind of music that hits when Mike and Axl cross paths. I love that. And I think it's so smart and so interesting. And it just kind of like tells you like, ooh, something's off. Not that you know exactly why, but it's because the music is helping score that they are like at odds. So I'm so excited to dive in with Joey about all that. But I did notice that when we were there.
Yeah, the music did get it. It took a little more risks. It took some risks in this one. It ventured out from the normal like, you know, it's like before every commercial break, like here's it gonna come.
Yeah, and again we have guess what? Some more montages where where Mike and Axl, where he's like telling him from like childhood as a kid of like, you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do this, and it's just like. The thing that I took most from that montage was that Neil should never color his hair with black shoe polish ever again.
And he never has. That's why he's never colored his hair.
That's it.
It's not that he would never sit through a haircut a hairstyle that's more than exactly 5.5 minutes.
And then, of course, though, because that takes place during the day, did you know? So the door is down. I think we talked about this in some episode earlier, but... That is a backdrop. That I could see the AC blowing the backdrop, like the neighborhood. I can't unsee it, and it's just like we were trained so much to like always close that front doors ASAP, and they have an entire episode where it's just exposing that backdrop.
I was thinking the exact same thing. I was like, oh wow, they really put a lot of faith in, which is good. They put a lot of faith in the episode. Like, you know, like this was, I felt like a very big suspension of disbelief. And it still worked. It definitely worked. But I also, it was all I was seeing. I was like, this is not a real street.
No. I found that so funny. And then, so going on a week plus with no door, everyone is bundled up in parkas, and Brick announces he actually needed to make the state capitol building for school.
Again, classic Brick twist.
And funny you talk about logic. I remember maybe every other episode to the director, to the writer, he'd be like, okay, so this line, it doesn't, can we just, and they'd be like, no, move on. It's okay. Just, it's sitcom world. You're okay. Where you and Frankie are on the couch. Frankie is reading her book in her parka. You're sitting there, no TV, just to give you to talk to Frankie. And so here's the thing, to the writer and to the creator's credit, I did not clock that. I would never have clocked that if I wasn't doing this rewatch podcast. But now I'm going through with my little notebook and I'm like, she's just sitting there. Okay, well, that's going in the episode.
Yes, there's a ton of stuff like that. I actually don't even that did not bump me this episode. I think because I was maybe because I watched this late at night. So I was just like, yeah, I remember sitting there. Wait, sorry. Wasn't this is this not the one where an animal comes in? An animal's in the house, right?
Oh yeah, there's like a deer who eats that sugar cube thing. Yeah.
Right. That's what that is. So, nearing the end of her deadline from Ehlert, Frankie goes full mom mode on a customer and finds her groove. She sells a car.
She sure does.
She finds her angle, right? What was her angle, right?
And it was being a mom the entire time.
She got to lean in. You got to lean into that. I feel like it always comes back to leaning into momhood.
Yeah. And then Frankie takes matters into her own hands and fixes the door herself, leading her to a standoff with a drill gun with her and Mike. And
yes.
What I picked up from this is it's so funny. We were talking about like comedy and timing with Peter with how it's like music. And what's funny is whenever Frankie would press the drill, that's also part of the music. Because some of the laughs I got from it were not from the lines, were from when she would drill. And it is a musicality. Even if it's not literal words you're speaking with the music of comedy, it's all the noises and the beats and everything that kind of goes into that particular scene. I thought that was really interesting.
But it's another instrument to add into that scene.
Yeah.
This, I have to say, this really resonated with me. This is like, oh yes, I have been there with my husband, who is also, because we're both really stubborn. And now we're finding out our children are so stubborn.
Oh, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, does it?
No, those apples land directly below. And that's it. Every time they just won't do something, it's like, how about them apples? But there have been absolutely times where I'm like he just wants to, or like with our kids even, like, no, like she has to say please. And it's like, no, she doesn't. We got to go to bed. We got to go to bed now. That's just what we're doing. We're going to put the pajamas on now. Or like, even if it's not to do with our kids, just like something where he's like, I have to fix this technological thing. And I'm always like, or no, he'll do like, I have to figure it out myself. And I'm like, Google it. And until I'm like,
he doesn't want any assistance. He wants to figure it out himself.
With so many things.
Oh my God. You know what Cameron does? Cameron over Googles. Cameron likes video games. He's like a gamer.
Ooh.
But whenever, I don't know.
How have we never talked about this?
Well, he, during like a year and a half ago, he went to Best Buy to get an electric razor and he came home with a PlayStation.
Right,
and he
of
hasn't
course.
put it down since. Yeah.
Okay. Well, tell me what Cameron does.
Whenever he needs a cheat code or something, he's like not so stubborn to where he can't figure it out himself. He is on google.com on his phone, remote in the other hand, and being like, oh, okay, I got to go under the treasure chest, hang a right, hang a left, and then there's that secret key. Got it. And
That's literally exactly the situation that I am talking about, where I'm like, please, where I'll call Nick in and be like, hey, could you help me beat this boss? Because we game.
Oh, yeah.
Specifically for Zelda, specifically for not this last one, not Tears of the Kingdom, but for Breath of the Wild. Sometimes I just call him in and I'm like, I can't beat this boss. Can you just help me? And he can't do it either. And then I'm like, okay, I'm just going to Google it. And he's like, no. And we will go days. I just want to get to the next town. Can you please? I'm fine Googling it. I'm fine. I don't care. And he will not.
Oh my God. Can I tell you a little bit of honesty right now? So as you were just talking, I had a fake smile on my face because my brain snapped because I was like, I never realized she was a gamer. This is a whole new layer to her personality that I had no idea existed. And then I popped back in for the end of it. So I zoned out a little bit being like, wow, how have I known this girl for however many years and I have never known that she is in love with Zelda? Oh my God.
There's literally a line in my show about it. Actually, it's kind of an Easter egg. It's not a thing. It doesn't matter. But that's why I'm like, off mic, we'll talk about, I got to talk to Cameron about what he's into these days.
Cameron tried to make us play some like 2-person game where you have to like work together. They're like little dolls. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I mean, which one? There are a lot of games like that. They're little dolls?
I think so. Or they're like little, I don't know, it's a child of divorce and they're trying to like bring the parents I think they're the parents. They have to work through their divorce. And
yes,
I almost broke up with Cameron. I almost ruined 6 years of relationship by playing that game because I couldn't figure it out. He was able to like swing from the rafters and execute everything and like plug in the cord and do all the things. And I'm still stuck just trying to jump to the next platform. So I almost ended our relationship. And then he said, why don't we move on and go have lunch? And I said, that sounds good. Should we get back to the episode?
I think we should.
Okay, Sue's third and final retake is here. And Mike and Frankie find themselves back on the same page when they lie to Sue.
Wrap it up. Wrap this part of our lives, which is Sue and her picture. We got to wrap it up.
Yeah. And that's the perfect thing to like tie the rest of their lives in a bow and say, you know what? We can agree on that. That's good enough for me.
I can't remember. What was it? What did it look like again?
So the first one, I forget. The second one was the tongue, and the third one was like a something crazy.
Right. That is exactly right. Which is fine. It's not the tongue, so it's fine. And the perfect end to Axl, again on the same page. Axl's punishment, wearing the dog suit outside of Ehlert's.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. And I also realized too, and it was rewatching this episode now that I'm looking at it through a critical lens, they play the same music for Ehlert. So the music at home is different than the music at Ehlert's, which is different than like the brand new musical cue, which was for that like Western standoff between Mike and Axl. I can't wait to talk to Joey about all this. It's so interesting to me.
I know. I think they're called motifs or like light motifs. Like their themes. They have. We'll double check with Joey, but I know this concept. Okay, so that is a wrap on episode 106. And when we come back, we are talking to our music composer, the fabulous Joey Newman.
So our guest today comes from a Hollywood dynasty. His whole family consists of successful composers, including his grandfather and great uncle, who are, get this, Eden, Oscar winners. Thank you very much. And our guest is following in the family legacy and has for many years with his incredible talent and knack for music. You've heard his compositions on everything from Any Day Now, The Space Between, The Mysteries of Laura, All Rise, Diary of a Future President, our spin-off pilot, Susu in the City, and of course, all 215 episodes of ABC's The Middle. He has a wonderful family, a kind soul, and most importantly, an Emmy nomination. Please welcome Joey Newman.
Woo!
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Hi, Joey.
What an honor. Hi.
It's so good to see you, first and foremost. I hope you know how much I love you, and I love your family. I love Ciarlelli and your daughters and everything. And it's just, it's been years since I've seen you, so it's wonderful to have you.
It's wonderful to see you. Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. I didn't. Brock is such a and it's true. I feel like he's a real Joey Newman stan.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like,
I love it. When Eden and I were going through like our list of people before we even pressed record on day one, I listed. I was like, here's who we need right from the tip top, and you were one of those names that were like right at the top of the list.
it was like Patty, Neil, Eileen and Deanne, Joey Newman.
Oh wow, that is well. I love Brock. We all love Brock, and it was special. Brock and Jen both came in to speak at Geraldine's children's theater company and spoke to all the students about acting and all. It was amazing. So it was
so much fun.
That was cool. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So we are huge fans of Brock and of you as well, Eden.
Thank you.
It was. I was glad to. Hey, that feels great to be making it number 4 or whatever that was. That was pretty cool. Yeah. Now I'm psyched to be here.
We're so happy to have you. So Joey, I mean, we start with this with everyone. How'd the middle come into your life?
The middle came into my life. I had just got off of a show called Privileged, Rena Mamoon show. That was 2008. That was a Warner Brothers show, and that one had wasn't coming back for a second season. And I was asked by head of music at Warner Brothers, would you be interested in demoing for this new show called The Middle, which was a pilot that they already did, but they were doing again. I'm not sure how it's going to go, but would you be down for doing it? I'm like, oh sure, always. And when I got I think it was 3 scenes to pitch on, to demo from the pilot, and it was cool. I connected just with this brand of comedy because I grew up on sitcoms, and I grew up, loving. I was a TV junkie anyway. It's why I loved going into television music. But the show definitely spoke to me. I think my style of it, when I kind of came up with this idea, never really like a theme per se for the show, but I did have a kind of a motif idea that I kind of did, which was the kind of first cue in the pilot, I guess my stuff won over Eileen and Deanne, and that was how I got in. So it was not something I kind of expected in a lot of ways. And I had done mostly dramas beforehand, and then but I was doing some comedy I'd done a docuseries that had a lot of comedy in it, and even doing these other shows were basically kind of dramedies, because that's kind of things I do love that. But The Middle was definitely the first single cam type show or anything towards that sitcom that I've ever done. So it was awesome. That's how I got into it.
I was just saying that was going to be my first question, or my next question after this, which is just, and you answered it. But had you ever done sitcoms? Because dramedy, it's different. Like sitcoms are hard when you have. I mean, today, I don't know, with The Bear winning Best Comedy, who knows what anything is anymore. But right. In my opinion, with real, actual hard comedies, when they're 3 jokes a page, it's punctuation. It's part of the script. It's really part of the show itself. It's part of the language of the show. And so it's kind of a crazy thing to just jump into like that. It's a really specific thing. So I thought your background had mostly been in like sitcoms, either multicam or single cam. But not at all. I guess so it really did Wow, you really nailed it. Are you funny? Like you are. I know that you,
Yeah.
no,
Well,
but
some
in
people
talking
think
to you,
so.
I know that
Yeah.
I know that you have a good
Yeah.
sense of humor, but like I feel like you do need to have kind of actual like proper comedic timing, comedic rhythm to know when to put something in.
Some of your musicality, some of your laughs and jokes don't come from the actor. Some of it comes from the music.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
interesting you say that. So yes, I mean, I definitely agree that for composers in particular that write comedy music, I would say that it's pretty smart and I think good to have a good sense of humor. I mean, you know, you can certainly write it, I guess, without it, but I don't know any great comedic writers that aren't funny as people. And you know, I think of like my cousin Randy, who does all these great, you know, his style of music making and his comedic style of writing. He hits all kinds of things in that zone too. Writes songs about it. But I would definitely say that for me coming into this, I knew enough about how to kind of go about some of these things, but definitely it was Eileen and she and I worked so, you know, we worked together to kind of define where the comedy beats were according to her type of writing. Because everybody, you know, everybody's sense of comedy could be some, you know, like I might find this section funny, or, you know, I might want to punctuate this or not. So I put in kind of my 2 cents. Sometimes it was right on, sometimes it was a little too much for her. And we really worked literally, I think, over, I would say, a good 3 or 4 seasons before I think we really, like, by season 3 or 4, I felt like we were really nailing a lot of that stuff, and we were still kind of discovering up until then. But, you know, between things where I'm adding a lot to it, maybe too much to it, and then take away, and then maybe, you know, so my instinct was always to put more in, because, you know, it's a single cam, so I can actually score a little bit more as opposed to just bumps in and outs all the time, like in a multicam, where I really have to, you know, I can actually score the show, which is really great. And I think that makes a huge difference. So that was one of the big things about this show, where I think the music did play yet another character, you know, within your world too.
It's so funny because, like, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but, like, I think if you notice music too much, then the music is doing too much. But it's supposed to enhance the mood and enhance the environment. And as we were kind of going through, and I knew your interview was coming up, and as we've been looking at the show with the microscopic lens, what I didn't notice until this rewatch is that, like, when you enter Ehlert's, you know, you start the scene with that, there's a certain musicality or certain song or certain kind of tone you're hitting versus when you're doing a transition scene into the Heck House versus something that might be completely brand new for the series, which we saw in this episode when Mike and Axl are kind of squaring off, and you have that little bit of, I don't know what you want to call it, that Western kind of music where they're kind of dueling back behind. Would you agree with that? Like that it's only supposed to enhance, and if the audience notices it too much, then it's going against the point?
I agree. I think that's why over the seasons we ended up kind of coming where we kind of came to. In fact, one of the things by watching episode 106 was that I was much more active, I think, you know, writing wise within the score than I ended up being as time went on. I think we definitely, you know, simplified a lot of it as we kind of, but all the themes, my goodness, this episode I think had every theme in, and maybe I was like dumping every theme I could. Here's Sue's theme. Here's the family theme. Here's Ehlert's theme. Here's the dog costume theme with the whistle and all of that. So yeah, it was definitely, you know, part of the point was if I could figure out a way, because again, I don't think any composer, at least I didn't think about this when I was doing it, that I was going to set a foundation for 9 seasons of show. So my idea though is that through, you know, a season I could pull from these little like thematic motifs and I could interweave them between characters. So this thing of, you know, Axl and Sue's theme could blend over a longer thing, or I could kind of move in as the scenes change and as people come in, but do it in a kind of a, you know, I think a nice, subtle way that makes sense. It's not necessarily bombarding you. But for me, being able to pull things is kind of fun, and then I can kind of mess around with it. And then once in a while, we can actually make a light of it somewhere down the line, you know, like turn Sue's thing into, you know, from where it started, and then she kind of goes down to a love thing, and then there's a whole love theme component. So, you know, it's fun.
I think because we really do talk a lot about music on this show, or we talk about like the musicality of comedy and how, each character really is an instrument. You have to, and I've found a lot of funny people are also musical just in general, like not like it goes both ways where you realize like, like a lot of comedians play instruments because it's just it's sort of the same muscle. But I was going to say that since we were talking about like, the music really being a character, and because we were noticing for a lot of it, we're like, there's a lot, I feel like a lot more music in these first few episodes. And it's sort of like, because it's a character and because, it's like in the pilot when you have to cram in so much exposition, it's sort of like through the whole first season, you have to musically develop this character. So you're like you have to cram in a lot of music exposition,
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
So it makes complete sense. And also, I guess I was also not, because I didn't, like we were talking about, I didn't do sitcoms before. So I think I was probably trying to put a lot more information within these things to say until I had really, try to kind of, at some point learn that I'm going to have to do less overall to kind of let some of these things speak. But I think it helped to kind of give a little leg up to as the cast gelled over that season, which was what was so special to watch and to kind of see. As it gets into second season, it gets in third, and it's like everything kind of really kind of digs in. I noticed I could do less too, and I still felt it would be very effective, and the comedy would start to take over more anyway.
I was just going to say that it's the same, I think, for acting. When I watch myself in these first few seasons, I'm like, dang, that was broad. That was really broad. It's still, like, it works, but, And I do feel like it's just the same thing, where it's like, I eventually was able to do less.
Can I ask a really dumb question? Are you ever regurgitating these musical cues, or are you quite literally composing and recording new things for every single episode? Or are you pulling something from episode 313 and then reusing it on episode 324 for like a transitional musical cue?
Yes.
Or are you recording those fresh?
We had recorded, I mean, obviously this show had a library of music at this point. And what would happen is that as time kind of went on, and Eileen fell in love with certain things that were working fine, that some of the editors would kind of cut together. In particular, Brian Barr did such a great job he was a great editor who could cut music. Really great. He was able to kind of put things in there sometimes that just worked, and we're like, well, why touch it? We can go ahead and concentrate on the more important things. So, but yes, for the most part, I was touching still, heavy amount of percentage of the music every week. And part of that is, also, I think to Eileen's, she loves it. She was always it was important for her for each thing to kind of, to really work. She spent a lot of time with me every episode. So it was awesome.
And so when it comes to, I guess, creating consistency for an episode versus when are you deciding, what do those conversations look like behind closed doors of like, okay, let's use the classic, like, Heck family house transition versus let's create something brand new for the Latin inspired music when Sue falls in love, or again, like that Western kind of theme when Axl and Mike are hitting. Like what's the determining factor there, and what kind of goes into creating what that sounds like when it is something new?
I think, actually Eileen ended up really knowing the distinction between each theme. So sometimes she would, I tended to put them in as appropriate, and if she liked it or didn't like it, but she started to kind of know, this is Brick, this kind of quirky sound ends up being Brick, and mostly Axl, Sue, and the family was all in the acoustic guitar mode one way or another, but some a little bit more rock or aggressive than others and all that kind of thing. She was very good about that. She ultimately, she heard these things. I would write those kind of accordingly, so it was just kind of a fun connection to it. And when it came to stuff that was like, okay, we're having a Chariots of Fire moment, or we're having this, that whole scene. I remember too, the recess scene was also like, we went just like kind of go Hans Zimmerish on that thing, or this duel kind of like like the Ennio Morricone kind of vibe, like that was always kind of there. And then it was, the whole point is that I'm going to then take this idea, which is somewhat of a comedy trope, but still kind of make it classy and work it into our middle world. And the middle world was always this band that I always kind of felt like it was a mix between Tom Petty and the Cars or something, like in this zone of like, it's got like Americana heart in it, but it also can be a little quirky and go a little left field and stuff like that. So that's generally how I did it. It was the same with Christmas, how are we going to make all of this kind of into the middle Christmas, or so those moments were definitely spoken about. And when these kinds of things came up, Eileen and I did have a conversation about how we were going to do this and how far, if I took it too far, she'd ring me back in. But the Latin thing just kind of came through. I kind of done a little bit of that on Privileged, because that had taken place in Florida. So I went a little Cuban in there. And then when I just said, how great would it be that Sue's got this fiery Latina heart and just wants, and then yet it clashes with that Midwestern kind of, white conservative kind of vibe. And I just loved it. I thought and Eileen, she loved it. And she loved that it was rhythmic and it was interesting and all that kind of thing. So I then brought that into the world of the middle sound.
What's tricky probably in your position is music is such a different language, right? You're saying all these conversations that you have with Eileen, one of our showrunners, and she's a very musical person as it is. Being able to take what she's trying to express, and I'm sure it's expressed very well, and you being able to pick up what she's laying down is an additional skill in and of itself, because it's literally two different languages, right? And so being able to kind of get this tonally musicality, this comedy that she's looking for, and being able to use your Google Translate, and putting it into your studio and composing it in a way that is effective in the way that they're looking for, I think is a whole additional skill beyond knowing how to play the guitar.
Yeah, well, the beauty, which I found out later as I got to know Eileen more, is that she actually comes from a very musical background, which was really interesting. She played flute, she sang, and she went to Interlochen, and her sister's incredible, as we know, an incredible lyricist, works in Broadway. I mean, definitely is a musical strain there. So she knew what she liked, and she could kind of explain to a certain degree on some of these things. But I did have to learn the language, the shorthand. When Eileen says it's too plick plock plickety plickety, or something, she'll give her little terminology. I have to figure out what that means. Or I want you to go up instead of down. And then I'm like, okay, so this, we talk about it, but sometimes it just is like, I have no idea what she's saying, and then I have to try things to see what worked, and then I can kind of decipher it. But I had to kind of like almost write a little journal of like Eileenisms to understand, okay, this is going to mean this.
We all did.
Yeah, everybody did, right? So once I got it, it worked out pretty well. Yeah.
And I'm sure there's showrunners too that I'm sure you've worked with. Like we said, Eileen is a very musical person, and her whole family is too. But I'm sure there are showrunners or creators you've worked with who don't have as much knowledge in that, and it probably it requires a lot more legwork on your end to figure out and match what they're looking for.
Yeah, for sure. You never know what you're going to get. I mean, this is part of a psychological kind of thing on our end as composers, and anybody who has to understand who we're working with. And also, when I come in and do our music spotting session, which is the time where we sit together with the editor, music editor, sound, whoever else might be there, and Eileen comes in, and we all watch the episode and decide, where the music is going in. Of course, usually it's already pre-temped for all the studios and everybody, but we still kind of go over it all and make sure that's what we like, and that we don't, we do need it or we don't need it, or if this is in the wrong tone. But I did, I knew at least enough. You guys obviously knew, way more than I did, but I would check to see how is Eileen's day going today, because I want to make sure that, I know which Eileen I'm getting when she comes in. Is she exhausted? Is she upset? Which might affect how the session goes, and. So these are important things, I think, as composers. Part of this job is to psychologically evaluate the room, who we're dealing with, who's my point person, all these kinds of things.
It's so much more than just talent. It's crazy.
Right. It is. It's a lot. It's a lot.
So I would like to, because obviously it's so different. I feel almost silly saying walk us through the difference, but truly when it is for an episode, like for the musical episode in season 8, I know we're talking about this, the episode, the whatever this episode is. What was it, Brock? 107, 108?
106, the front door.
Oh, okay, 106.
You were close. Yeah.
No, we record them all in order, all at once. Okay. I mean, one at a time.
Yeah.
But no, for the musical episode, for example, so walk us through the difference between, week to week, we talked about the library developing everything and then, revisiting sounds, like it becomes more natural. And then you're given this task, like it is still part of the show, but it's very much its own thing. Walk us through this.
Well, one of my favorite parts about doing the series was when they would tell me a little bit ahead of time that, hey, something kind of unique is coming up. And those are my favorite parts. I mean, anytime that I could do something really different from what we normally were doing, of course, was like, I'll take it in. Even things that, anytime we could do an arrangement of something or something different or, whatever. When this one came up, I was like, oh, this is awesome, And I remember when, Marcy and Xena are going to do it, Marcy Heisler being Eileen's sister and Xena Goldrich, her writing partner, have a song, and it's going to be kind of La La Land, and Brock and Eden are going to sing it, and I'm like, oh my God, this sounds incredible. And then I met with the choreographer, so we had to discuss a little bit about that, and I'm like, yeah, can we keep doing this? Can we have a whole musical episode? But this came in, I can't remember how many episodes ahead I learned about this, but yeah, I was pumped to do it, and it was great to be able to work with them on it. And when it came down to it, they gave us the full song of how it was going to be, and then I had to go back and discuss. We talked about tempo and where things are going to kind of happen here. Maybe we should do a hit here for dance and all of this. But the fact that we could get a little small orchestra with a lot of the same people that played on La La Land, you guys recording over at the studio, they actually sang it at Igloo. It was really cool.
Right.
I mean, that was a real treat. I mean, that we don't always get.
One of my favorite things was you invited me when you had the entire orchestra recording, right? You're like, come to Capitol Records, come see it.
Yeah.
That was such an amazing, cool experience to see, like in this historic building in Los Angeles, and seeing just this entirety of this, however many people were in that orchestra working towards this one piece of music. I mean, it was a fascinating thing to see. It's just, and it was so fun to kind of, because I knew you, personally from that point, at that point already, and it was fun to kind of see you in a new way that I hadn't seen you work. I mean, I feel like once we shoot our stuff, then you go and do your stuff, at your studio, and so it was so fun, as a friend of yours to see you get to work. I don't know. It's nice. It's fun. It's, when people are talented and you can see the final product, but it's a whole other thing when you get to see them in action. And that's how I felt kind of watching you at Capitol Records do your thing. It was amazing.
Well, it was also so cool because we, so rarely get a chance to do it this way. I mean, it is mostly just me sitting here in this room doing the score to the show. And, these little moments to kind of pop out. I mean, Eileen said the same thing. She's like, wow, I didn't even know, that you could do all of this kind of thing too. And I'm like, yeah, this is the idea. We were all trained to do all different kinds of things. But I'm a drummer, so my background's always been in bands anyway, so I love doing bands type of music. But when we can do something orchestral or jazz or whatever, it's a real dream, to be able to work with the top LA guys and girls and have, choir come in. My wife sang in it. It was really cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like a real family experience. The middle has always been a family experience, one way or another, between the cast and the crew. I mean, it's just, that was what was so beautiful about this show, was how family everybody felt after this amount of time. I can't imagine ever experiencing something like this quite again, because of how special that really was. It was a real, highlight of my career for sure, was working on this series. But, having these moments, I mean, Eileen offered, how great, what a treat. And to have you guys sing, I imagine for you guys to watch this and go through that process, and for you, Brock, to see it like that, it's got to be cool. I think it'd be cool to watch myself in this setting too,
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing. And you did it wonderfully, by the way. We didn't say that. You did it wonderfully.
Yeah.
Can I ask you, I just have a couple questions about, like, you come from such a legacy family. Like, if people don't know the name Newman, you absolutely know their music. So you're following in this lineage. Was that something that was like a no-brainer for you, that they kind of like shepherded you into this career? Can you kind of walk me through that, or what it was like to be a part of this lineage that's been so historic in Hollywood history?
Yeah, I mean, what I remember most, so my grandfather passed when I was 12, but what I remember most was always how he had Star Wars toys just shoved in his closet at his house. And it was always so cool to get that. I wish I would have kept it unopened.
Right.
Boy, that would have been great.
Right.
But who knew? I would rather just play with it. So it was, that part was really interesting. I mean, I knew about these aspects of what he did, but, I didn't really understand the whole family thing growing up. I mean, I knew I knew more of Randy's music because of his pop kind of stuff. So of course, being from LA, I love LA. Everybody knew that. And I've been playing drums since I can remember. So for me, music was always there. I was told I started drumming around 3. I know at 8 I got my first set, was really when I became serious about playing. And then at about 11 I took piano lessons. So I had at least, a harmonic and a rhythmic background enough, but though the piano is very percussive. And then I didn't decide to do music as a career until I was about 15 or 16, and I kind of felt like this is so, I can't see myself doing it. I like other things, but I love this. And, none of the family, I mean, it's kind of like the family was like, sure, you want to be an artist? Go for it. But I think at the same time, I had always just been in mostly songs and band music, and that was kind of my world. But I loved a little bit of everything. It wasn't until I went off to college, I think, as to where I really kind of, saw more that I could do. Orchestral, better ear training, better all these things that kind of came about. And that's when I said, I'm going to stop trying to become a performer, I wanted to become a studio drummer, but I'm going to go into writing more and, try to make a living that way, because I just loved doing that way more. And so the family was always supportive. And of course, when I decided to actually go into the career as, a next generation composer, I think it was, people were curious about it, but I definitely fall more in the lines of Randy, kind of coming from more of that world into it than I did a, classically trained, cellist or something that was in the family, or, and I'm removed enough to where I don't have the same, I never had the same type of pressures, that
was the question.
Thought about, right?
Yeah.
Was it like that? I don't know. I mean, what I always felt is to uphold the legacy of the family's music. And I'm a person, we're all workaholics. There's definitely something genetic within all of us. It's, similar for sure, for those of us who do this. And we are dedicated to this field. I mean, I love this job. I love doing I love being a storyteller with music. Mm-hmm. That's something I think I've always loved watching movies and TV, and I love music, and I love how they work. And I've always wanted to just, keep my standard of quality as high as possible. And that's, I think, how I can honor my family anyway, just to be able to kind of bring the best that I can to it,
And I will just say, it makes complete sense. I didn't know that you were started out as a drummer. That explains everything. Comedy is rhythm. No, you have rhythm. You've got rhythm.
True.
You've got pizzazz. You've got little snark. You got it. Like you got it in you. This makes complete sense.
Yeah, it is funny. I think that really is actually quite helpful. I think the rhythmic styles of comedy, the beats, are really interesting, and it's been interesting to explore from a musical, standpoint too. But this show being the way it was, I can't imagine, this never wanting to be too sitcom as people always kind of see it, which is funny because I get it, but it's like if you make it and you see it that way, it's kind of hard to not. I mean, hard to completely leave that box when you're shooting that box. Make it so different,
Yes.
but you're shooting it the exact same way it's been done since I Love Lucy. How are we going to get away from all of that, right? You got to make a show like something way out there, very, very different. But the middle kind of really felt like that ground where we could kind of do a bit more than the norm. It didn't have to all be bumpers. And I think my favorite part, you guys, on this series was always doing these final wrap-ups. It's because for me, I could always do something emotional, and I loved it. I remember, Eileen, saying that, in the writer's room, that, they definitely enjoyed, all the, like, if I could put all these wrap-up pieces in one long track, it was my favorite. I just loved doing that. I mean, even we did a wrap-up on the Sue Heck pilot, that was in the same emotional zone, because there's always so much heart in this show, and it wraps up at the end. It's that formula that feels great. That is why I loved watching these types of shows, and why you can continue to watch it.
We talk about how the middle has established even early on that, like, they didn't hit it too hard, but there's always a nice, like, touching, heartwarming thing. And now I didn't even realize it until you just said that right now. But, like, of course, you're so talented. You have to be able to have the range to handle the range of the show. You have to be able to, compose something that is nice during those really nice moments that we have at the end of every season, and those comedic moments, and the moments that are like, oh, we're doing a whole musical number, and it's just, you were able to take what they gave you and you ran with it and you did it.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
So, Joey, this has been so nice. To wrap things up, we always do something called the blue bag grab. Are you ready for it?
Let's do it.
Okay, they are 5 quick questions. They're just rapid fire. And today, blue black.
Blue black.
Oh my God, it's like a theater warm up. Blue bag grab. Blue bag grab. Today, your blue bag grab comes in the form of middle trivia and rapid fire questions about your career.
Okay. Oh boy.
Number 1. You composed the musical number Brock and I did in season 8. What was the name of the song?
March to Your Own Drummer.
Wow. Ding, ding,
I
ding,
knew
ding,
you would
ding,
get
ding,
that. I knew you would get that. Okay. Joey Newman, you have won 4 ASCAP awards. What projects were they for?
The Middle, All Rise, and I think Diary of a Future President. Is that right? Am I missing?
I have All Rise, The Middle, Mysteries of Laura, and The Middle again.
That's right. You're right.
2 middles. And you won for The Middle and Mysteries of Laura in the same year, by the way.
Yes.
That
was a good year.
That.
Wow. Did you do that over hiatus? How'd you do the same year?
No, I think I was working on the shows at the same time. The difference being that for you guys, I can actually work on multiple shows if I have to. Yeah.
Wow.
I know. And
talented.
The middle, luckily the middle was, I had it kind of dialed in enough to where I could take on extra things too, which was helpful.
Number 3. This is just first answers. This isn't trivia. Wow, you're going to nail this, I will say. You're going to get 5 for 5. Everyone gets, not a lot of people. You're going to nail it. Because this one's not even, there's no wrong answers.
My favorite kind of questions.
Yeah. Okay, first answers that come to mind. What 2 projects were the hardest, and what were the easiest to find their musicality?
One
that's hardest. What's your hardest, and one that's your easiest?
I think the hardest was maybe the Twilight Zone episode, because we had to kind of do a little bit. We had to make that kind of work, which was one of my favorites. And the easiest.
Or is there like a pilot you did where you're like, I get it. I don't even just sit and think about it. I know exactly what it's supposed to sound like.
Honestly, I don't think anything is the easiest, because it's always a blank canvas. So,
yeah.
I mean, but there are things that do kind of come. I mean, the middle stuff kind of came. I will admit, when I did the pilot demo, it did just kind of come through. So, not that it's easy, but it did come quickly. So maybe that's something you said.
I'll take that. And it's funny you mentioned the Twilight thing, because I'm sure what's hard is that they want you to reference the Twilight Zone, but you can't do anything that like would get them sued for infringement on copyright and stuff like that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I put a little middle stuff in it, so it's like, it was really fun. That was some of my favorite things to do, is to kind of work in the middle sound to all of these other things too. It was cool.
I love it.
Yeah. It was a good one.
Okay, another number 4, another rapid fire. Which I didn't know until I went on your website this morning. You've conducted alongside the most infamous composer in Hollywood, John Williams. What were 3 words to describe that experience?
Surreal, bucket list, which is 2, but really 1, I guess, if we think about it. And
sure.
I don't know, just overall excitement. I mean, it's just,
I'm sure that has to be something that's like insane.
Just watching him, and I also rehearsed his stuff for our portion of it when he couldn't be at a rehearsal, and watching him do his thing is always exciting. He's just an incredible human being, and such a warm, gentle, supportive person for the orchestra too. It's incredible. They play for him because they love him so much, and you can hear it. Yeah.
I didn't realize that until I read this just now, and I was like, oh, what are the 3 words going to be? I hope it's not bad. I hope it's not terrifying. Okay, and it's the last one. We got multiple choice. Okay. Not including pilots that didn't go. How many episodes of television did you compose overall? A, 497. B, 526. C, 588. Or D, 636.
Oh my God.
I don't know if that helps.
586 or whatever that one, the second 500?
No, it's the most insane number of them all.
Really?
636 episodes.
Yeah, there's been a lot of television. Yeah.
There's been a lot of television. Just going through IMDb, I had my little calculator out and I was like, oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Doing the couple hundred of episodes of television I had done on this show, Little People, Big World, I thought that was, and then here we are doing 215 on the middle. I was like, oh my God, it's even, it's amazing how much one ends up doing over all of this time in a, fairly short time period. But yeah, those were the days of all those episodes.
Yeah.
It was nice doing 22 episodes, 24 episodes on this show. It was great. Yeah. Really fun.
Well, Joey, thank you so much.
Oh, you guys, I could talk forever about this with you all. It's awesome.
Oh, this has been an absolute blast.
This was just as wonderful. I hope it was for you, Brock, because you had high expectations.
So I was very excited to talk to Joey Newman.
I know, this was so wonderful.
Oh my gosh, anytime, you guys. Anytime. Happy to talk to you.
Well, enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you, and we hope you'll come back at some point as well.
I'd love to. I'd love to come back anytime you want to talk further episodes in the middle. It was nice to watch it again, too. I hadn't seen season 1 in a while, so it was nice to watch a couple episodes from that. So.
Oh, good. Well, thank you, Joey.
So this week, Brock, we wanted to switch things up a little bit, right?
We sure did.
So instead of a listener question, our inbox has been hit with some really, really, really sweet messages from the fans. And
we wanted to read one that Eden and I really, really like. So this one comes from Julie. The subject was the podcast I never knew I always needed, which I love. And she says, Eden and Brock, this podcast is amazing. I'm a fan of the show from day one. When my older 2 sons were 3 and 18 months old, they're now 18 and 16 now. Wow. And my youngest, turning 14 tomorrow, wasn't born yet. Every Wednesday night, the middle was the balm to my very tired mama heart. Oh, I love that. The boys were in bed, and I would watch my show. I also love that it was set in Indiana, where we're from. Recently, the aforementioned 14-year-old and I started watching the series from the beginning. I've watched it about 1,100 times, but this is the first time for him. We also watched the original pilot episode. No idea it existed until this week, and we did a comparison with your cast. What fun. And then to discover your podcast, what a gift. I do hope you both and the whole cast know what a treasure this show is. Keep on middling. It's awesome. Julie from, quote, the great state of Indiana. I just got chills. That is the sweetest. Julie, thank you so much. It affected me when I read it initially, but then reading it out loud, I'm not even kidding. I literally got chills. That's the sweetest thing.
Julie, we love you. That is really, really, really sweet. And honestly, I will say, it sometimes does help. It does make a difference to hear people say, like, things like, I hope you know what a treasure it is, because, like, you know, it was very special to me, but it's hard to know. I don't talk to every single fan in person, especially after filming the episodes. You just don't know. And so, like, just to hear that, I don't know, other people treasure it kind of as much as the experience of filming it meant to me, it means a lot. It means a lot, truly.
It's nice because obviously the middle means something to us, as, you know, Brock and Eden, of course, but then it kind of gives us this nice connection with fans because it also means something to them. So even though Julie, I love that we're communicating, but we haven't met Julie in person, but I do feel like I know Julie really well because of that letter and our shared connection of the middle.
Totally.
Oh, thank you, Julie. We appreciate it.
So I think that's it for today. What a fabulous talk with Joey Newman.
Yes, it was. He's just the sweetest human being ever. I love that we got some time with him.
And smart. And smart.
Yeah, and so smart and talented and all the things. We just want to remind you to follow us at MiddlingPod on Instagram and TikTok. We're also on Facebook.
And one thing, those meme caps we post every Wednesday when an episode comes out really do genuinely make me laugh.
Me too. It almost feels like almost like a Sparks Notes version of the episode. You know what I mean?
Yes. Like if you didn't do, like just a reminder, like if you didn't do your homework and watch the episode we're going to be doing, don't worry. Here's what it was. Remember? Here's what it was. Great. Now listen.
Exactly. Those meme caps come out every single Wednesday. So if you didn't get to it, just take a little glance there before you listen to this podcast. Patreon.com/middlingpod for all the bonus content, video episodes, and of course, our live watch parties, which I'm so excited for the end of September. Mark your calendars.
Yay! All right, Bracky. I will see you and all you fabulous people next week for episode 107, The Scratch.